morning,
Yeah.
and welcome to
Good
the
morning.
show. Morning. How are you?
Good. How are you? I don't know why
Already
I'm laughing
laughing. That's a good
already. I know.
sign. No, that's a
Is
great
that?
sign. I think so. Yeah. Well,
I
it
think so
depends if
too.
I hope you're not laughing at me, or maybe you are. But either way, it's all good. As long as you're having a good time, I'll be having a good time. So, I am delighted to have you on today, and can't wait for the audience to get to know you, and for me to get to learn about you as well. And first things first, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, who you are, where you are in the world, and anything you'd like the audience to know up front.
Sure. I'm Rachel DeAlto. I laugh a lot. I am East Coast based, spent a lot of time in the West Coast, and I focus on relationships. So I'm a relationship expert. I've been doing this for a decade and love every second of it.
Well, I like relationships as well. I've been in relationships. I'm in a long-term committed relationship, otherwise known as a marriage, for 10 years. So I'm guessing my wife is going to enjoy me being on this episode so that I can learn some things that I can do to maybe show up even better as a husband in our family. So I'm excited to hear what you have for us today. So, as we always like to do in the show, I'll just share with how Rachel and I know each other. So, Rachel and I are part of the heroic public speaking community. We were not in the same cohort, but we have a lot of mutual friends together. And Rachel and I were fortunate to meet up about a month ago now through that community. And it was really good to connect with you and spend some time with you that evening. And on that topic, what I like to do here on the show is a little fun way to kick off is talk about our first impressions of each other. And since it is my show, you actually get to go first. So, Rachel, what was your first impression of me? Sorry.
Well, I think I apologized at least 7 times within the first couple seconds. And I don't even remember what I apologized for, but I was just in a very apologetic mood, which is not really like me. But I just remember you came in because you're friends with Amber and you were meeting Amber, and I had
Uh-huh.
totally crashed the party. And I was like, oh, this guy seems fun and super extroverted. And I think like attracts like and definitely recognizes like. And I was like, this guy's interesting and loud like me in a good way.
And our mutual friend Amber, who's actually quite introverted, looked like she was about to pass out from maybe sitting between the two of us.
Yeah, there
Like,
was a lot.
please take the volume down.
And it doesn't help that we met at a bar because if I
No.
have a glass of wine, my decibel level, so my boyfriend is after a bottle of wine, he's like, I just can't even be around you in public. At home, I'm fine. But in public, I just get really loud. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
for people like Amber and other introverts, and pretty much anybody, I think it's a little dangerous if you get us drinking.
Yes. No, I agree with that. So thank you for sharing that. So my first impression of you, and yes, I do remember what you apologized for. I don't think it was 7 times. I think it was maybe just a couple. You kept apologizing for being so tired.
Oh.
And I was thinking to
Like, I'm
myself,
sorry, I'm just not showing up in the way I should.
yeah. And I was like, wow, it seems like she has a lot of opinions on how she should be and like what she's not doing today. And my honest opinion is I didn't care at all. I'm like, hey, she seems great. She's friends with Amber, good enough for me. But I didn't like have any preconceived notions of like, oh, she's going to be like doing shots in the bar till 3 a.m. Like it didn't even cross my mind. Then you kept apologizing. Like, I think finally I'm like, it's all good. You're good. You're good where you are.
Go to
Like,
bed.
you're good. You're good. You're good. Whatever. But so my first impression of you is the same. I think part of the reason that you're on the show today is like you were obviously very extroverted. I had actually, hadn't told you this before, but I had seen you either posting something in public speaking or somebody had shared it. And I'd looked at your stuff. I'd seen your media appearances, which we'll talk about a little bit today. So I had also like your very bubbly personality, like super bright, warm, engaging. So maybe that's why you were apologizing as well, because we were in a dark bar where you kept talking about how tired you were. And that's not really how any of the media appearances I've seen you on. I'm like, oh yeah, she's super bubbly, warm, relationship expert. By definition, I kind of think of somebody who's a people person.
Yeah. Well, I think
Otherwise,
that's the
you'd
thing.
really
Like,
hate your work.
yeah, 100%. And I also think that's part of it too, where I'm meeting someone who is interesting. Obviously, everybody in that HPS community is awesome and you want to be able to connect with them. And here I am. I did not feel well. I was exhausted. I had just gotten back from LA. And I think I just felt bad that I couldn't show up in the way that I wanted to. But I'm not sure why I just kept apologizing for it. I should have just drank my Mal-back and gone to bed.
Oh, there you go. But either way, we get to spend some time together on this podcast. So
Do.
it all works out, Rachel. So I am super excited about this. So let's go ahead and kick off. And I've got some questions for you. Are you ready?
Okay. No.
All right. No, not ready,
Sweet.
but you're going to get them anyway. Perfect.
Amen.
What is something that you nerd out about?
Oh man, I think, I had this conversation yesterday. I am a data geek. I love data. I don't know why. I love
Mm,
research. I love data. I love studies. I was actually just looking at I was just looking at studies this morning, but I just find it really interesting. And I guess it's because I am a people person. I like to know what makes people tick. And
mhm.
I think data is very interesting to just get a handle on that. Not that it's always 100% accurate, but yeah, I like data. Is that weird?
No, I have you ever do you know somebody by the name of Vanessa Van Edwards?
Yes. Oh my God, I love her and I love her data.
And she's coming on the show in March. So I
Amazing.
actually did some of her courses. And yeah, like I love her term. She's a recovering awkward person.
Yes.
And Vanessa, if you're listening, I'm giving you a little shout out before our episode. And her whole thing is literally the name of her company is the science of people, as you probably know. And it's
Yeah.
all about the data behind what makes you likable, what makes you, what helps you in networking events and speaking and all those things. So yeah, I had a feeling when I heard you say that, it sounds like you two would be like mine. So that is super interesting. So do you have any specific I'm thinking about data. Is it specifically around how relationships work, or is there like a niche inside of there that you're really passionate about?
I think it's all people. So I'm actually working on a book proposal now and just working through kind of what's really lacking in social skills and people. And a lot of the data around loneliness and the lack of connectivity and lack of authenticity, like all of those things are really interesting to me, and also figuring out the why. So it's one thing to say that, one of the things I just read this morning is 64% of college students consider themselves very lonely. And I
Mm,
want to know why. I want the deeper dive into that. So I think I think those statistics are really jarring and really
yeah,
interesting. And then for me, the geeking out comes like, okay, let me go talk to 100 of them and find out what's really going on.
yeah. That's interesting. So I've had a few. I've had one college age person on the show already, and I've actually had the loneliness conversation with another guest. And what she told me was that by being it's actually lonelier because you're more connected in a way. Like people don't spend as much time together. Like we won't reveal your age. My guest knows my age. I'm turned 42 in November. You're like 25 or something, I think. Um,
I shouldn't have laughed that hard. I should have just nodded.
you say yes, that's exactly right. But what they said is because it's so easy to connect digitally, people don't always spend as much time in person. And what
Yeah,
it actually equates to is the loneliness actually equates to decisions in relationships that aren't maybe in service of what you actually want to create, which I know is like what
sure.
your work is all about. So
Yeah.
that's an interesting topic, and I am looking forward to exploring that further with you on the show today. And thank you for sharing that. I never would have guessed that data was the thing you nerded out about, but I guess that makes sense. Like combining like the people, it's like combining the people energy and the relationship stuff, which is such a like a quantitative thing with like the qualitative of like the actual why underneath it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
Because
love
yeah,
Lord of the Rings too. So if you want to like put that
uh,
as a side note.
ooh, yeah. New Amazon show coming out soon.
I didn't see that.
Yes, they're doing a Amazon is doing a Tolkien Lord of the Rings show, and it's supposed to be same level of quality as Game of Thrones. Like it's like $100 million show.
Interesting. Okay. All
Yes,
right.
yes.
We'll see.
I think it's pre Bilbo, I believe. I
Huh.
think. Yeah, like the maybe the genesis of Sauron and Saruman and all that stuff. But we could probably go on like that forever. There's obviously things I nerd out about as well, but that's for another episode. This is my show. What's going on here? I think Rachel's already playing mind games with me.
I'm just going to sit back and let you talk.
That's perfect. Oh, that's dangerous. All right, back to you. Another question
Back to
for
me.
you. Yes.
Yeah.
What is something that is inside your comfort zone that might be outside of somebody else's comfort zone?
I think this one's probably similar to other people you've had on the show, especially since we met with through HPS, but I think
Mm-hmm.
speaking, just getting in front of people, I love the moment you put a camera on me or put me on a stage, I actually feel more energized than sitting in an audience. Like a
That
weird
is,
thing.
yeah. I've actually had to tell a couple of our heroic public speaking friends that you can't actually say that. Like like people's titles, it's like keynote speaker, and then they're like, well, it's public speaking. I'm like, no, we're not. I'm not accepting that. Let's get a bit deeper. I think it's obvious, or maybe not. Like I read that Bruce Springsteen's and still gets like really scared every time he performs. You know, he's
Yeah, no, a lot of people
35
do. I
years.
mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that kind of, you see like sports people who are amazing. And darn well that like half of them, they still get nervous going out there and playing the game. And, I was at a wrestling tournament yesterday and one of the kids, I was talking to the coach, like he's amazing and he loses his mind before every match.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a given. I know even in my cohort, there was quite a few people that still had some stage fright, which I was like, good for you guys to push
Mm-hmm.
through that. But for me, it's kind of, that's my happy place,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm in the middle. I think I'm not as experienced a speaker or a public person as you, so I like being up there because I think I like being the center of attention. But I don't know that. But then I have like serious imposter syndrome around like, do I actually know how to do this, and is my content any good? So for me, even doing a podcast is like, ooh, I like talking to people, but I don't really know how to do it. So what's this going to go like for me? The podcast has been outside my comfort zone a little bit, but
I think you're
it's
doing
been a ton of
great.
fun. Oh, thank you, Rachel. So now we get to talk about something that's outside of your comfort zone. So flip the question here. So what's something that
Yeah,
is outside of your comfort zone that might be inside of somebody else's?
it's funny because it's related, which is writing. I I was told once I submitted a book proposal a couple of years ago that I'm so glad did not get picked up because things shifted and I wouldn't want that book in the universe. Not that I wanted my last book in the universe either. But this one went out to an agent, which is a very vulnerable thing because I just did the
Mm-hmm.
proposal myself. And he came back at me. He says, "You have a great platform, but you're not that good of a writer." And I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, that one hurt."
oof, oof.
And he was right though. Like I looked at it, and he sent me a really good one, and I was like, "Wow, I'm not even putting the effort into it." Not saying that I could become an amazing writer, but I could have been better. I just don't like it, and it's very uncomfortable to me. And I feel like speaking and kind of presenting and just being out there in the media stuff is so easy and comes so naturally versus
Mm-hmm.
sitting down and being inspired. And I know some people just love to write. Like I have a friend who I swear she just lives to like write email copy and script out things. And I hate it. It's so awful. And it I'm even talking about it and my stomach gets like all clenchy.
Yeah. Oh man, you and I are like the same person when it comes to this. Amber said to me uh, at the end of our program, which is in February of 2019, she's like, "You're going to write a book someday." I'm like, "Oh God, no." That sounds like for me, like I don't like writing either, and I do like Toastmasters, and I obviously write some things for my coaching business, but I like the idea of sitting down and writing a book just makes my skin crawl. It sounds horrible. It is so
Yeah.
not something that I'm good at, or that I tell myself I'm not good at. And even my speech that I worked on for HPS, it was miserable. And this is where a mutual friend of ours, Steve Drum, who is also on the show, Navy retired Navy SEAL Steve Drum. Him and I both agreed. We're like, I just want people to write stuff for me, and I want to perform it. Like I like to love the performance part. Do not like
Totally.
writing. Do not
Yeah.
like writing at
Well,
all.
I ended up hooking up with an editor for this book, and she's helping me with the proposal. I did the base of it, and then I just got sick of it and said, I can't make this better. This is not my forte. So
Yeah.
thank God there are people out there that compliment us weirdos.
Yes, exactly. And they probably look at you and go, "Oh my God, I wish I could just get up and be natural on my feet like Rachel does."
Yeah, well, we can't have it all.
Well, we try, and then we fail, and then we keep going. So
I fail miserably. I think that's one of the things I'm really good at is I recognize like there's certain things I'm decent at, and then there's a lot of things that I really suck at. So you know what? I think knowledge is half the battle, like G.I. Joe.
yeah, I love it. So with all that being said, you still have a book coming out at some point, or it's in the works.
it's the proposal's in the works, so it's being edited right now, and then God
Gotcha.
help me if I sell it, because then I have to actually sit down and write the base of it. I can't just I wouldn't have it ghostwritten. Although if I could find whoever did Michelle Obama's book, I would totally hire them. That was the most beautifully written book. And I'm not a political person, but I was like, holy
Hmm.
crap, there are people out there that are so good at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
And
amazing.
I think her book was, I believe it's a number one book of all of 2019.
Yeah, and I think it's the number one memoir ever.
Yeah.
It
It's
was it
amazing.
was so beautifully written. And I bow to those people who can do that and create absolute art with their words, because I'm like, she looks pretty. they they were nice. Like,
It's
it's
hilarious.
terrible. Oh Lord.
Yeah. Well, I'll be looking forward to your book regardless. I will read it when it comes out, and I will think about you like, I don't know if you write with your pencil or if you're typing, but like just banging away on the keyboard or like F my life, this is horrible. Because that would be
Pretty
me if I had
much.
to write a book. I'd just the whole thing would be a disaster. But it would be fun because then you get to go on a press tour and you get to talk about it. So then you get that nice part about it at the end.
That's true. That part I would enjoy.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, thanks for sharing that and being vulnerable. And for everybody listening, be on the lookout for Rachel's book sometime in the next, sometime in the future.
Sometime in this
uh,
decade.
Sometime in this decade. All right. So on the topic that's more comfortable for you,
Yeah.
speeches.
Yeah.
You get the opportunity to give a 5-minute speech. This is
What?
like your mini TED talk. It's an 18-minute shrunk to 5 minutes. So you got to deliver a powerful message in 5 minutes.
Right now?
Not right now.
Oh my God. I was like, wait a second. I haven't had enough coffee.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes, give us a 5-minute speech. No, we're not looking for you to improv a speech.
Please
That's
don't do that.
amazing. No. No. What I am going to ask you for is what you would give your speech on and why, not the actual
Oh,
speech itself. Yeah.
yeah. I think honestly, what's most passionate to me right now is relatability is what I'm, my signature keynote's about, and what the book's going to be about. Part of that I would really boil that 5 minutes down to is being authentic and real, and just really showing parts of ourselves that we normally don't, and stop trying to be like someone you're not, because
Hmm.
there's just so many, like you said before, there's actual imposters out there. So, and all that does is just demean your ability to be happy. So
Yeah.
that would be my 5 minutes.
I love it.
I'd yell at
Powerful
people for
message.
being fake.
Would you yell in your speech?
100%. I'm a yeller. Can't you tell? Like, I just get
Are you
angry
actually
all the time.
I that's amazing. You're like this. I love that you're a relationship person and you just get angry. That's so good. Like it's like passion angry, like because you care so much.
I don't yell at people. I have yelled at a client before, though. I worked with her for about 4 years before I earned that right. And then I was like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah. I'm a yeller in certain areas of my life that we'll not go into here, but with my clients, I'm pretty not a yeller. There's one client one time though, I didn't yell, but I was like, I'm kind of the person that if my voice goes really low and soft and slow, that you know that you're actually in trouble.
Yeah, I was
Like
going to say
that,
that's
like, yeah.
scarier. That's way
Yeah.
scarier. Yeah, the only people I really yell at are my kids, but they
Yes.
deserve
Well,
it.
not even your boyfriend?
No, I've never yelled at
Oh.
him.
Oh.
Yeah, 3 years almost, and nope.
You just go low. You just go low and slow with him.
I just go low and slow. No, you know what's a funny thing? In 3 years, we've never had a fight. We've talked through every single thing. So apparently,
Wow.
whatever the hell I've been studying for the last 10 years is very well implemented. Or we've
Yeah.
both just been beaten down.
Well, we'll have him on the show next, and we'll see if we get the same story. Or if it's more like,
Yes.
I'm just scared as hell. I'm just scared as hell of Rachel. So I just say yes to everything.
He might say that last part. I'm pretty sure he could take me out. He won Golden Gloves, so I don't think he's afraid of me.
Oh,
But
yeah. Okay. So your powerful advice to all the people out there that are dating is just find somebody who says yes to everything you want, and you'll be set. You'll be happy.
that's
I like
right.
that. I love
Happy
it.
wife,
That's
happy
it.
life.
Exactly. you could talk. My wife's name is Kirsten, and I've talked about her quite a bit on the show before, but she would definitely say that I've not learned that lesson yet. Like so I think we may need to talk later about, maybe me working with you, because like there's times where I'm like, I know what I should say and I know what I should do and I know what would make it better for both of us. And I'm going to choose something different because, because I just
Why
feel like
though? Yeah,
because
see,
I
that
have
doesn't
this,
work.
yeah, I have this, so one of the things we talk about in coaching is what's the thing that you're unwilling to give up. It's like the thing that we all have a thing that we're unwilling to give up. So one of my big things I'm unwilling to give up is needing to be right.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Work in progress. I'm working on it. It is something I'm aware
How's
of.
that working out for you?
It's better than it used to be, for sure. I've got a great therapist, and I've
Perfect.
through a coaching program, and I've got a lot of support, and my wife understands. But the thing is, we've all got something
Yeah.
that we're just unwilling to give up. A story about ourselves. I'm sure you deal with this with your clients all the time. Of like, people have stories about I'm undateable or I'm unlovable. Like everybody's got a story or something they're unwilling to give up. Mine just happens to be not always positive in a marriage, but we're working on it. But overall, like I love my wife. We've been together for it'll be actually 11 years in May now, and we have
I was gonna say, I was like, it's a pretty long track record. So clearly,
long track record.
There's some compromise happening there.
There's a lot of compromise, and we've created a little mini Frizzell as well. She'll be 4 in February, so yeah, things are good.
Aww.
I'm being hard on myself.
Please stop. You're doing great.
I'm going to stop now. So,
okay.
So this is the part of the show, Rachel, where like just get to talk to the audience about your journey, how you ended up doing what you're doing, and what you've been up to, and what you're up to today.
Gotcha. It's funny because people always ask me, how the hell did you get here? And sometimes I forget that it was such a weird journey. I actually was a lawyer. I was a litigator about, what year is it? A little over 10 years ago. I was a practicing attorney, and I founded a dating company with my partner, and we ended up taking it to a private placement and raised almost $2 million and launched this company. Yeah, it was pretty incredible, just off of an idea, but it was before apps and everything. And then the apps kind of came out and killed it. But in the meantime, we were getting a ton of press, like crazy media. And so my first appearance was on Fox Business and, a national program. And then they kept calling, and like Oprah called. Oprah was still on air. I think it was her last season. And her producers called. So it was a really, interesting concept that they were interested in putting on air. And I started doing this media stuff, and the producers were like, hey, you can, walk and talk at the same time. That's amazing. Why don't you come back in?
What a compliment.
Yeah. Basically I could talk on camera and not trip over my words. And so they invited me back, and they asked, like, do you have opinions on stuff? And I said, I have opinions on everything.
You're like, how much time do you have? It's like, this is where I'm picturing, like, hold my beer.
Exactly. Yeah. So I started doing TV, and we ended up doing a deal with a guy from Shark Tank, off camera, to help with the branding of the dating company. And he says to me, you have to become a flirting expert. I was like, what the can I curse?
A flirting expert? Yeah, yes, you can. Yes, you can definitely curse on here. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, my reaction was, what the fuck is that? Like, what's a I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. So he says you have to become a flirting expert. We have to position you as a flirting expert to sell in this company and make you part of the brand. And I had already left so much of law to build this company that I was just really, I was all in, but not to the extent of changing my entire personal brand, which was lawyer up until that point. And I still ran with it because it was kind of Hail Mary pass. And I believed, that this person was guiding us in the right direction. And so I ended up writing a book in 10 days on flirting. Please don't read it.
That will not go in the show notes. I will not put the link in the show notes.
Yeah, you do not have to put that in the show notes. I mean, it still exists. I considered taking it off the market, and then I was like, screw it. So it's still out there, but it's not that bad. It's just not exactly my finest work, as we talked about before. Don't
But
really
it took you
enjoy
a whole,
writing.
but it took you a whole
Whole
10
10
days. I
days.
just want to,
Whole 10
wow.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, flirting comes pretty natural to me as an
Hmm.
extrovert. So I just kind of practice, I practice what I preach and I preach what I practice. So I've just put it all on paper.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I started doing more media around that. Media led to coaching, coaching led to speaking, more media led to more media, and started doing TV shows as a host. And I was an expert on Married at First Sight for a couple seasons, and then did a
Hmm.
show with Kate Goslin. And I've had these amazing opportunities in the relationship sector. But yeah, that's kind of how I got here. And now I'm still very much in the relationship space. I
Hmm.
am a spokesperson for Match,
Mm.
but I am also trying to pivot more towards general relationships and really focusing on corporations and just humans and human interaction.
Yeah.
The end.
Super cool. Yeah. Super. The end. That's it.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's so. A couple questions for you about what you're up to now. When you said you do coaching, do you take on private clients now?
No.
Gotcha. So you don't
Um,
do private client work. You do. So what? So let's say that I knew somebody who I thought you'd be a good fit. Are you looking for speaking engagements? Are you looking for group work? Like what is your business that you do now?
yeah, most of my business model is speaking engagements and spokesperson work. So I rep Match, and I'm their chief dating expert. So I do a lot of things for them. And I have a whole two private clients that are people that I've worked with in the past.
Hmm.
On certain very rare occasions, I'll take on a new client, but nothing. That's not really my focus, just because I
Hmm.
feel like with my schedule, I end up having to text them and be like, "Can we reschedule this?"
Yeah.
More than
Yeah.
anything. So,
Yeah.
but speaking, yeah, I'm actually in next week or the week after. I'm opening a keynote for a huge college conference of 4,000 people, and
Wow.
that's really like I love that. That's the
Yeah.
bigger the
That's cool.
better. Like, get
Yeah.
me in front of these people. Like, let me make some moves and help people, and that's my jam.
That's awesome. I was actually just going to ask you, like, what's your ideal stage? Like, if somebody's listening and they either hire speakers or they know people that hire speakers, yeah, like, what's your ideal stage and what's your ideal type of audience?
I love, well, I love awkward people, but I love people who are, um, I just love good energy, and that's my ideal. I've had a couple big stages, those 3,000 plus stages of
Hmm.
just people who are there and present and like ready to go. And sales teams are amazing. So my keynote's on relatability and it's interactive, so you get people moving and it's cool. Like I've done it in, a 25 person office, small session. But when you have it for the masses, it just, the energy that comes from it is just so freaking cool. So that's my
That sounds like
ideal.
a ton of fun. I don't
So
think
fun.
I don't think you knew this about me, but I spent almost 20 years in sales. So I went to a lot of like sales kickoffs in Vegas and all that stuff. Lived another day, which is a whole another topic of conversation. But we had some, we never had, so we had some pretty cool speakers, but we never had anybody really talk about like likability or relatability. It was more like we had one of the soldiers who was in the battle in Bosnia from Black Hawk Down came and spoke. Like it was more like motivational stuff of performance. But I don't think
Yes.
I've ever seen a speaker at a sales conference or actually any conference that's really about like interpersonal relationships, which is feel is like a miss because in sales it's like
Yeah.
and I do sales coaching now and sales advisory work for startups here in New York. And this is something I talk to my clients about. Like it's just a people business. That's all it is. And
100%.
the product is one thing, but if you're not relatable, people there's too many options nowadays,
Yeah.
especially in software, which is what I focus on. Too many options, and being your like what you talk about, like being authentic, being likable, being relatable, is actually the way that likely people do business with you. But what I'm thinking about is you're talking about that in my sales career, where I've been myself has been when I've been far and away the most successful, and when I'm feeling under pressure or getting coaching or usually not coaching, more like telling me what to do from bosses is usually when I did not do as well because it feels gross. and your clients
Totally.
figure that
Yeah,
out.
like
Your clients figure it out.
say
Yeah.
XYZ, like give people a script. What? No, and again, like you said, that's everything. And you're not selling a product, you're selling you. And the
Yeah.
best salespeople are always just they're the most charming and charismatic and connected. And I think the biggest myth is a lot of people I hear, they're like, well, I can't learn charisma. Well, no, there's some innate aspects of people that are there and they're pillars, but you can learn to be more relatable. It's a skill set. It's not an innate.
Yeah. If you would be so kind before we move on, where would you say somebody that's listening today is like, hey, I'd love to be more relatable, and who wouldn't? Where do you start? Like, what's like if you've got a quick nugget from your speech you want to give to us, where would you recommend people start?
Yeah, well, they could buy my book in 2050. Um,
Not your 10-day, not the 10-day flirting book, but the book that's yet to be
no,
released. Okay.
this
All
book is
right.
going to take a while. Yeah, I break it down to three things, and it's not like they're secrets. It's about your connection. It's about being authentically you. It's about your communication, which I look at communication in a very different way. It's not about the semantics. It's not about, obviously, yes, we can talk about communication styles, passive, aggressive, aggressive, assertive, but it's really about how you communicate through your presence and through your adaptability. And then the third element is you need to find your inspiration. Find the reason why you're doing what you're doing, find the reason why you're selling what you're selling, or you want to make this connection. Is it an internal drive because you feel that you want to connect with people, or is it, you're selling a product that you believe in it? There has to be something behind it in order for it to be effective.
Hmm. Yeah,
Thanks
I
for
love
coming to my
that.
TED Talk.
Yeah, there it is. There's the microcosm TED Talk. No, this is something. This is the concept that I completely whiffed on for a long time, and now that I'm a coach and I've gone through training and I've been powerfully coached by people, that I finally understand is like without a what for, it's really difficult to get excited. And for a long time in my career, I didn't have a what for. I had two things. I call it the two P's. I like the people I worked with, and I like the paycheck that I got every 2 weeks. And other than that, I just didn't really care. And like for me, like learning about the what for and working with my clients and what for, and for you, like what I talk to my clients about too is like, what's your what for? And if they don't have one, like, let's figure out what that is, because then it's
Yeah.
easy to show up authentic when you're like, oh, I'm passionate about that thing. People are gonna want to interact and be with and buy from and spend time with and date people that are passionate about something. And I was not in my work life for a long time, so I totally identify with like just a lack of what for.
Totally. Yeah. No, and it's something I talk about too is, I was this lawyer and it was a good job and I enjoyed so many aspects of it, but it didn't really light me up. And finding my purpose was all through this weird, entrepreneurial journey that wasn't intentional and led me to where I am. And, I'm lucky that kind of life directed me towards my what for, which I call my or then what. um,
Yeah, I love it.
but yeah, so it's like if you don't have it, if life hasn't pushed you to find it, then you can push yourself to find it. Because I don't think I was even thinking about it when I was just earning a living and showing up in a suit.
And writing briefs. Don't forget you're writing briefs,
Oh
probably.
God, it was the worst. I think that's part of my problem. It's like lawyers, they teach you to be really boring writers and use
Yeah.
4-syllable words all the time that mean absolutely nothing.
I
Awful.
have to do a quick sidebar. No pun intended, I guess, because sidebar is a legal term, I believe.
Yeah.
So one of the companies I do work for, the name of the company is Outlaw. Actually, had Evan, who's the co-founder and CEO of Outlaw, on the show a couple weeks ago. It's a contract lifecycle management platform, so it's really built for attorneys or people that are like legal operations. And we have found that when the sales reps write long, boring emails, it's better for the attorneys. They like it. Like most people want like a too long didn't read.
Oh,
The attorneys love like long, detailed emails because in sales, generally it's like keep it short and sweet, give people what they need so they can move on.
yeah.
Now, the attorneys that we're selling to like to have like everything spelled out in like a page of text. I'm like, oh my God, it's my
Oh,
worst nightmare.
shoot me. Yeah.
Yeah, but it works. It works. Yeah. Guess maybe they can bill for the time they're reading it. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
how that
You
works.
got to
But
know your audience, I guess.
exactly. Well, thanks for sharing all that, Rachel. That was super interesting. And yeah, you've been on quite the journey from attorney to now standing on stage and speaking about flirting and relationships and
Not so much
being
flirting
authentic.
anymore.
Oh, you don't do flirting.
No,
You buried that
I
part. That's
buried
great.
flirting. I was like, can you like push that down in the Google results? That was just a year
Yeah.
to try to promote my company. But hey, listen, you
Yeah.
can't be embarrassed about the parts of your journey that led you to where you are when you appreciate your
No.
destination.
No, of course not. Well, that's good. So now is the part of our time together where we flip the script a little bit and you get to play host and ask me anything and I will answer it. Since you've been vulnerable and shared your journey, you can ask, and you can ask me anything. It doesn't have to be about my journey, just anything you're interested where you think the audience would be interested in hearing about from me.
Well, I do think I think everybody's story is interesting. So like, how did you get into what you do now? And what brought you to
Hmm.
HPS?
Yes. Oh man, this is such a good story. And I'll keep it brief. I'll try to keep it brief. Not in my sweet spot. Something that's outside my comfort zone. So yeah. So for the audience who doesn't know, so I'm a full-time coach now. I obviously have the podcast. I do sales, coaching, and advisory work with startups, and then I also I do private coaching. So I have clients who I work with on an individual level. And so the story is this. So June of 2018, I'm in my career and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Like I love the people I work with. It's actually one of the best jobs I ever had. And something was just missing inside of me. And I had, I had the wife, we had a child, we love where we live in Brooklyn. We, like my life and our life together is great. And there's still something that was missing inside of me. I didn't have any idea what it was. So randomly, I was talking to my friend and he's like, you should go take an improv class. And I'm like, you know what? I've talked about doing improv. I don't know what that really looks like, but I'm going to go and do it. So I signed up for an improv class here in New York City at the Pit, or otherwise known as People's Improv Theater. Really awesome place here in New York City. And I did the intro class. And I'm in the intro class and we're wrapping up the very first session. And our teacher, her name is Taryn, who's also going to be on the show here, says, hey, like the other thing, guys, if any of you are interested in talking about, like anything else, like I also do private coaching. And it was kind of like my hold my beer moment where I'm like, oh, coaching, what? What does that mean? I didn't know anything about it. Like Rachel, I literally was like, yeah, I've heard about coaching, like I know Mel Robbins, I know Tony Robbins, but like I don't really know what that really means. But I'm like, hey, like I trust my gut. I'm like, hey, you should talk to Taryn. So I ended up talking to Taryn. I ended up hiring Taryn and worked with her as my private coach for quite a while. And through that, I realized that I wanted to learn. I wanted to speak. So that was my premise for HPS. But the reason I actually got to HPS was super interesting. Very quick path to HPS. Do you know the platform Creative Live?
No.
It's it's a place where it started as a photography platform where you could learn to do
Okay.
like Photoshop and all sorts of different photography. They've expanded since into other topics in business. So I originally learned about Creative Live through Vanessa Van Edwards and Science of People. She has a course on there and it's a video. They're all video courses, very well done. So I got done with Vanessa's course and I'm like, hey, what else is on here that's cool? And I see something about mastering your public speaking with Michael Port. And I'm like, never heard of Michael Port. Let me get on. I did their course. And I'm like, wow, they seem really cool. This Michael and Amy characters seem great. And I think at the time, Amy and Michael may not have been married yet. And I'm like, oh, they seem really cool. Let me just Google them and see what's up. And I Google them and they were doing Heroic Public Speaking Live, which I don't know if you attended that. Have you ever attended that before?
No.
But yeah, it was super cool. It was a conference they did every year in Philadelphia. So I signed up for that. And that was in October of 2018. And then I'm like, I don't know, like, let me keep exploring. And I'm like, what else do they offer? Because I really like the content I'm seeing. And I'm like, oh, Pro Public Speaking grad. I'm like, that seems intense for where I'm at in my career. Like I'm still working for a enterprise software company, but I'm like something about it like pulled me. And so I like put in a, lead generation, contact me, I'm interested, talk to Amy. And she asked me to say, like, what's your what for? Why are you interested in the program? I'm like, I'm not really sure, but it seems aligned with what I want. And then
Just take
I
my money
signed
and leave me
up.
alone.
Yeah, sign up, like, I'm in. Just here's my money, here's my credit card. So yeah, so I signed up, and I wasn't really sure why. And when I got done in February of 2019, I wasn't really sure why, other than I'm a lot more confident on my feet now. Like, I think doing this podcast, I think it's way easier for me after going through that amazing program. But what I've since come to realize, if you believe in like the universe or God or fate or whatever it is that you believe, like my path is like, I look at the relationships I have now with my cohort, or even like you and I talking today, like none of this is possible if I wasn't in that room with the people.
Totally.
So at the very least, I'm taking incredible friendships, incredible relationships, both business and personal. But like, there's definitely something that I'm going to do with the work in terms of speaking, and it's going to be this year. I just don't know what it is yet. So I'm working on that. So that's how I got to HBS. How
Very
I got into
cool.
private coaching is, yeah. So in the fall of 2018, I was working with a private coach. I signed up for Heroic Public Speaking. I went to Heroic Public Speaking Live. At that very same time, in October of 2018, the startup I was with that I really liked, we were acquired by a big company. And I don't like big company. I don't like working for big companies. It's just not, I'm like a on my feet. I like to get in the shit and grind it out kind of person, like a startup person. And so I'm like, ooh, like I told myself I never work at a big company, and here I am back again at a big company. I'll give it a try. It'll be fine. It's not the end of the world, but it's not my long-term thing. And my coach Taryn, said to me at one point, she's like, hey, like, have you ever thought about being a coach? And I'm like, no. She's like, well, but you love people. It's kind of like, I think it's kind of your path too. Like, but you love people and you love talking to people and you have a heart for people. You should think about it. And I was like, okay, what do you mean? She's like, well, you could start by going to an observation. So there's a coaching program that I ended up joining, and I'm wrapping up here this coming weekend here in January of 2020, where they do an observation. You can come in for a couple hours, see the work that happens in the room. It's very intense. And I went and I was like, oh, this is for me. This is what I want. So I signed up for that as well. So in the space of like 1 month, I signed up for a five-figure coaching program, and neither of the two programs are cheap. I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, so I took on a lot.
And your wife's
this probably,
honey?
yeah, well, this also probably demonstrate how my wife and I actually are in partnership around this stuff, because, like, hey, what do you think about me spending this on these two things that I'm not sure either of them are going to lead? But she supported me. And so through that work, so I finished Heroic Public Speaking in February of 2019. 2 weeks later, I started my year-long coaching program. So it's 1 weekend a month, every month, with a lot of work in between. And so I'm literally wrapping that up here this coming weekend, which will be the third weekend in January. And I went out and I got some clients in March, and I've been coaching ever since. And I love it. And it's what I meant to do, along with speaking, podcasting, the consulting work I do. And so that's in a nutshell, or maybe not in a nutshell, how I ended up talking to you today and how I ended up coaching people.
I love that it came from improv. And funny story, I went to the pit once too. I'm the worst improv person that's ever existed. I can't stop laughing. I mean, I started laughing at the beginning of the podcast. Like, I just cannot hold it in. And I did it on the show that I did with Kate Goslin. We actually recorded a session at the pit with everybody, and the entire time I'm just laughing. It's awful.
Oh, it's so good. Like you're like the when you see like Kate McKinnon on Saturday Night Live, like break character. It's actually that's actually really but it's actually so authentic and funny when people do that. Or I don't know if you ever saw this skit with Ryan Gosling where they're talking about the UFOs, and he's in the skit with Kate McKinnon, and he's dying. He's like, his face is red. He's like crying with laughter, and they kept it. It was so endearing to see people do that.
Yeah, I guess if it's not interrupting, because I feel like every time I started laughing, I just ruined the scene because I couldn't keep it together. I find things really amusing.
Yeah, I had that happen to me once. Yeah, I had that happen to me once where I was doing a scene. It was actually in the intro class, and my partner, he just broke me. I'm like sitting there. I'm like, I can't even speak. I was like crying. I was laughing so hard. But but it's so good. Like, it's hilarious. Like, who doesn't like to watch other people laugh? So
That's true.
so
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess.
I
I'll
think.
take that.
Well, and it's
I'll
for
take
fun.
it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the question. Thanks for allowing me to share that. And
Yeah.
it's yeah. And I'm like, I feel like I'm also like still at the beginning of my journey because I worked for other people, other companies for 19 years, and I've only been on my own as an entrepreneur doing my own thing since June of 2019. So I'm still new into this.
Yeah,
And,
it's a big leap.
yeah, it's a big
I
leap.
look at
And I'll
stuff,
tell you, it is so fun.
oh my gosh, you can never go back. That's the scariest part
Yeah.
of it. It's so hard to
Yeah.
even imagine going back to work for somebody. But I looked at my trajectory the other day and I was like, holy crap, for a decade, I don't know how I've paid bills. Like I have not had a real job for a decade. That's just crazy. It's just
Yeah.
bizarre for someone who, especially like, I was on the lawyer track where it's like everything
Yeah.
is just planned out and safe and secure. And said, I'm like, no, we're just gonna try to figure this out as we go. and
Yeah. Like,
and somehow it does. It works. So
yeah.
just keep
Well,
following
yeah,
it down.
yeah. And I think what you said at the beginning is actually the key that I'm finding is when I show up most authentically is when it works really well. When I'm scared, when I'm in survival mode, when I'm trying to be, manipulative or something, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. So
Apologize for my dog in the background barking his brains
you
out.
are no problem. Is there a squirrel in the backyard or something?
I don't know. Normally it's there's somebody at the door, but I didn't hear him ring or anything, so he's fine.
No problem. Yeah.
Oh, or it is. Hold on 1 second. Let me
Yeah, sure thing.
pause for a second.
Yeah, sure thing.
Hi, I told him after.
So Rachel, back to you.
Yeah.
I'm taking the microphone back. I've had enough of talking about myself. Well, not really, but for this episode, yes. This is the Rachel episode, not the Jason episode. What are you passionate about?
I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I really am passionate about people. I really am. What makes them tick, who they are. I love people. And with that, sometimes I dislike people because then you find out what makes them tick and you realize you don't like them. But no, I really do. I it's cliche given my position and what I do for a living, but that is my passion if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
whether they're connecting in a dating situation or a personal situation, platonic or professional, it's definitely my focus.
Yeah. So so I'm also a lover of people, and I have a question for you. Do you have a thing that's an automatic nope? Like that person, you meet a person for the first time, they do something, and it's just like you just close off to them immediately.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. I think anybody really nasty or petty, anybody with like that super low, and I'm gonna sound so woo right now, but like that super low vibration of just negativity. And you
Mm-hmm.
feel it immediately because they're just
Yeah.
either, and listen, it's not that they can't be reformed. It's just I don't have the space always or the energy to help them get through that. Because I always think, okay, why are they doing that? Why are they angry? Why are they negative? There's always a story.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not mine to figure out. And, at this point in my life, I try to surround myself with people that are positive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like don't be an ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be an ass. Like that. Mine is I have a couple things. Mine is that because I'm a pretty big energy person. Like if you ever taken Strengths Finder, I'm
Yeah.
like positivity is like my number 8. So I also like people that are just either have an excuse for everything or like just everything is just an automatic negative is also a huge turn off for me. The other one for me, if you're listening and you ever meet me, is I have a thing about time. I'm very timely to the point where it's annoying to people. Like I'm like that annoying person who's like, if you show up on time, it actually feels late to me. But if people that literally don't respect my time, like everything, things happen, right? People, traffic, subways, flights, kids, like things happen. But if people literally don't respect my time, it's like they're like show up late and don't even say like, "Oh, sorry for being late," and they're like 20 minutes late. I'm like that to me is like a huge, like to me that's like a negative energy because it feels like a lack of respect. And I'm just asking for a text. Like it's not that hard to be like, "Hey, I'm running late. Can we start in 20 minutes?" And it doesn't happen often because I think I've gotten to the age where I just have filtered those people out. It's just not, I'm with you. Like, it's just not worth that time as parents and as, like significant others and thriving businesses and all the other things that I'm up to and that you're up to. I just ain't got time for that. I'm the same way. Like, so go find some other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. And I think it comes down to respect when it comes to when we talk about timing and people being on time or punctual. Just respect me enough that you show up or at least let me know what's going on. And you just triggered the other one that drives me crazy is anybody in pure victim mode where it's, I just want to complain about everything, but I never want to change it. And I get it. Like they got their own path, but holy hell, does that feel like nails on the chalkboard to me sometimes where it's just like, why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah.
You're getting a rope thrown at you. You have a ladder, like climb out, and they just don't want to because it's so much better to complain.
Yeah. One of the, on the topic of like time, one of the things that I would imagine as a professional speaker and as a media person is that's your kiss of death. If you don't show up on time for things and you're not reliable, like nobody's gonna put you on a stage. Period. I don't care how good you are. Like you've got to come with your shit together.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, and it's like hell or high water. I remember one of my first appearances, I used to do WPIX Pix 11 in New York a lot when I first started out 10 years ago. And they don't, this is going to sound so privileged, but they don't send a car service. So you have to get yourself there. And I was driving on the turnpike and I was going to be late. Like there was just crazy amount of traffic. I live in New Jersey. I had to get into the city. And it's live news. So if you're not on time, you fully miss it. And you really do screw over the producer that booked you.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to do everything in your power. I remember I pulled off at Secaucus Junction, which is a train station, about 10 minutes outside the city. I've never gone through there before, like threw my car in a legal parking space, jumped on the train, ran to the studio. And legitimately, as I was running in, they threw a mic on me and I sat in the chair. But it was like, that's what you have to treat everything like. Like it has to be, it's a do or die thing. And I think people appreciate that when you go above and beyond to show up on time.
Yeah. That's one of the things in coaching we say a lot, how you do it one place is how you do it everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sounds like we share a context around loving people, hating writing, and being annoyed when people aren't on time. Perfect. I love it.
Done.
Perfect. All right. So Rachel, what's the thing that you're most proud of in your life?
Then I'm going to get corny. It's my kids. They're awesome. I know it's so cliche, but they really are. My son is in college now and is a really good human. I think he could study a little bit more, but that's just me.
He is a kid in college. That's kind of what happens, I think.
Yep. He's a kid in college and I think he studies beer. But he's just such a good person, and my daughter's awesome, and they're just like, they're really great. I'm really proud of whatever small role I had in cultivating them. I do believe that a lot of it is, there's some nature, but I did as much nurturing as I could.
Yeah. I have a feeling it's a lot more than you're letting on. And if I didn't ask this question, then I feel like I'd be missing a golden opportunity. Do your kids come to you for dating and relationship advice?
My son does. Well, obviously my daughter's 9, so she better not.
Yeah. Yes.
we do talk about her friends and she had some issues with her classmates where we talk through kind of how to handle the situation and how to respond to people when they're negative or how to stand up for yourself and ask for what you want. So we get not quite dating advice. I think I'm ready for that in about 20 years, but my son does. Yeah. And I have to say, I wish I was a little less judgmental when it comes to his objects of affection, but I think that's part of my role as a parent. So I try to balance that out with just being supportive, and I do. I give him advice.
I can just imagine, like he brings somebody home from college. You're like, hey, this is my mom. She's a relationship expert. I'd be like, oh, crap.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? My boyfriend, when we first started dating, all of his friends said that he was a case study. So I think everybody.
Was
Everybody
he?
just thinks it's a pretty intense case study to go on this long.
Yeah,
No,
true.
yeah,
You're secretly collecting a lot of data on him.
yeah, it's a lot. I do love my data.
Hmm. That's amazing. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, most of the parents I've had on the show, the thing they're most proud of is their family and their children. So thank you for
Great.
sharing
So I
that.
have
And
company in my clichéness.
yeah, no, it's not even cliche. Like, I think it goes to show what you're actually, like it goes to show for people who don't have a family what's actually important when you do get a family. It's
Yeah.
like all the work and the money and car services and media appearances and all that stuff is awesome. And if you don't have, yeah, like once you
Love.
have children,
Yeah.
yeah, once you have love, once you like, I never really understood it either until we had a child. Now I totally get it.
Yeah.
So yes, if Rachel's children are listening, your mother is very proud of you.
Don't listen to anything I do, kids.
All right, so
Please.
that's actually the perfect lead into my next question for you. What's something that you're afraid might actually be true about you?
Oh God. That's a tough one. It's interesting because you said it before about attention. And I think if I'm being really, really vulnerable, I want to make sure that I don't do things just for attention and just for recognition. And
Hmm.
it's really hard, with certain levels of success, especially in media, to not let it go to your ego and not get
Hmm.
used to attention. And um, yeah, like I would be afraid that my ego is not as suppressed as I'd hope it would be.
Hmm. And so, second part of this question, if you thought that was hard and vulnerable, here's the second part of the question that might be even more vulnerable yet.
Yay.
So, if that's what if that's what you're afraid might be true about you, what do you do to compensate?
I do this. It's interesting. I had a conversation with our mutual friend Amber about this
Hmm. Hmm.
one night because it really is. I have to check myself and just, I think I come from a humble place, and I've had experiences that I think have led to having an increased humility. Um, but that doesn't mean that can't get sidetracked by other things. And for
Hmm.
me, it's just you have to be self aware enough to be like God, like that's not that feeling. I get it, but it's not necessary, and it's not in in help of your purpose. And
Hmm.
it's really that self awareness and checking that kind of has to keep that in check. But I mean, there's
Yeah.
times literally where I see somebody do something that I wish I could have done. And I'm like, what the hell? They didn't call me. They should call me. I'm the number one relationship expert, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, shut the up. Like, there's enough to go around and cut it. And, you stay in your lane, they're in theirs, and everything's good. So,
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you for being vulnerable. Appreciate it.
yay.
Yay, vulnerability. Yay. You seem very you're
Yay.
like, can we get back to talking about my big stages that I'm speaking on? Come
Yeah,
on.
can we talk about my kids?
Yeah. So
Oh,
we're gonna wrap up here in just a little bit. I've got a few more questions for you if you've got a few more minutes for us.
yeah.
So, what's your general philosophy on life?
That's a big one. I
Laugh
think,
a lot, of course.
yeah, well, and kind of goes in with it, goes in tandem with my general philosophy is like, don't take everything so seriously and stay positive. I think everything has the possibility to be looked at, most everything, with a positive light. And
Hmm.
yeah, just stop taking yourself so seriously. Stop taking life so seriously.
Yeah.
Enjoy it and find your passion and whatnot. But like stressing out over stupid things is just a waste of energy.
Yeah. I love that. I don't know about you, but as I've gotten older, I think this happens to most people is the things that I stressed out about when I was younger, people are literally not even paying attention. Like the things
Yeah,
you're
they
like
don't
worried about
care.
other people, like nobody's paying attention. And if they are, then their life must be really boring because it's actually not that interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the stuff that people are anxious about aren't real. So
Yeah.
I do have, there's stressors in my life, but for the most part, I'm not stressed out. Like things are going to happen and you can react to them or you can let it control you. And I think I've gotten to a place, and it hasn't exactly been like this forever, but I'd say for the last 10 years, it's been very, very calm.
Yeah, it's so funny because when I think of an attorney, like the vision I have in my head of control every detail, stress about every detail, every piece of minutia, and every like word on a piece of paper matters. Every word you say in the courtroom matters, and like it's all a big deal. Like to me, like attorney, it feels like everything that attorneys do is always a big deal. Was that your
Or
experience
they
when you
think
were
it
practicing
is.
law, or they think it is, right? Like everything is a
Yeah.
big deal.
Oh my God. Like that self-importance is strong in that zone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. I mean, and there is a lot of truth to that, because in a lot of cases, like, this is very important for the people involved.
Hmm.
I just found it to be it's very antagonistic, and you're constantly on the defense and the offense at the same time, and it's just exhausting. And I think certain people are really able to adapt well in that situation. And for me, once I was out of it, I thought I was. I realized how exhausted I was. Once
Hmm.
once you get out of it, and I think it's just trying to be something you're not, and something that's not aligned with who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool, Rachel. So before we wrap up today, I want to see if there's anything else that you'd like to specifically share with the audience that maybe popped into your head as we've been going through this today, or yeah, just anything else you'd like to share.
It's funny because I was starting to censor myself when I said I don't like all people. Like, oh my gosh, this she's a people person. She's got to be, welcoming and loving to everybody. And you know, I think the thing that I'd like to share is that everybody's human. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has, different sides to them, and just own who you are, and the right people will show up.
Love that. Where can we find you? So, like, somebody in the audience wants to connect with you. Somebody wants to book you for a stage, or
Uh,
get vulnerable with you,
just
or
call me and tell me your
just
problems and
call
secrets.
me and tell me your problems, and tell me and tell your problems, and Rachel will give you a good laugh. But yeah, where can the audience connect with you and find you?
I am Rachel DeAlto everywhere. So racheldealto.com, and that's my handle on all social. So I'm pretty active on Instagram and Facebook, and I don't have a Snapchat because that feels like a lot of work. But everywhere else, I'm very accessible.
Not TikTok either.
Oh my God, I can't. Like,
Yeah,
I can't. If my daughter wants to be on TikTok, which she is not allowed until she's 30,
yeah,
there's no way that I'm going to be on it.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. I don't fully understand it either. Maybe I'm aging myself as well, but it seems
Yeah, we're
like
just a bunch
Snap.
of old
Yeah,
people. Like,
yeah.
send me an
It just
email,
feels like
send
a
me
lot
a
of work.
letter via courier.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's a
Yep.
horse
Okay.
outside.
Okay. Great. I'll be sure and put your home address in the show notes so that people can reach you via snail mail. That's perfect. Write her a note with a like a wax seal on
Yes,
it.
give me your
Yeah, like
seal.
like an old Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, so that she knows this has not been open, and then she will write you back one. It'll be a beautiful thing.
It might be a couple years though, because you know how much
I
I
think
love to
it is.
write.
Yes, exactly, exactly. She'll text you back like a she'll tweet back at you. 280 characters. All right. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for being on today. It's been awesome to get to know you and have some good laughs and get vulnerable and hear all the things. So, as I like to do in the show every week, I'd love if you would leave me and the audience with some words of wisdom, with a caveat that the words of wisdom need to fit on a post-it note. So something that people can throw up on their wall and see. Like, imagine if you had your successories. I don't know if you remember that company that do like the cheesy corporate motivational boards with like
Oh my
one or
gosh,
two
yes.
sentences. Yeah, when they
Yes.
always have like the super super cheesy like sayings like "none of us is as smart as all of us" or something like that. It's like that's supposed to motivate you when you're working. But anyway, yeah, like something that you would want to
Uh,
leave the audience with.
no, side note, I did love my law firm that I was at, because we had demotivational posters. So they
Those
were
are
all
so
just
good.
sassy. I was like, oh,
Oh,
I'm in the right place.
yeah,
Um,
there's the one that I remember. I love demote. I love those as well. The one that I love is "none of us is as dumb as all of us," and it was like a picture of like all the hands in the middle. Or, and this might be a little bit offensive,
oh.
but it's my show. It's a picture of fries, and then the quote is, "Hey, we can't all be astronauts." So good.
Oh, we're assholes.
Yeah. Now I'm showing my not so positive side, but anyway, I'm laughing anyway.
Yeah, but people like that. People like real.
Yeah.
So I don't want "we're assholes" to be my post-it note, but I love the quote, "Forget the mistake, remember the lesson." And I don't know whoever said it. It's like anonymous or whatnot, or
Hmm.
maybe Winston Churchill, uh, Gandhi, Buddha. But yeah, forget the mistake, remember the lesson. So I think we beat ourselves up for stuff that we've done wrong, and they're all just learning lessons, and
Yeah.
we can grow from them.
I love that, Rachel. Well, thank
Preach.
you again. Yes, preach it on. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for the laughs and the good times today. Really appreciate you taking the time with us. And I wish you the best in everything you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Take care. Thanks for listening to another episode of Talking to Cool People with me, Jason Frizzell. Enjoyed today's episode? Please tell your friends, give us a shout out and a follow on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes. If something from this episode has piqued your interest and you'd like to connect about it, please email us at podcast@jasonfrizzell.com. We love hearing from our listeners.